Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today spawning the south corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got Beastyqt playing as the Rus, and his opponent in the north, we've got marinelord playing in red as the Holy Roman Empire. Welcome everyone to the Golden Pit, a new map gracing us in Age of Empires 4 as part of the Sultan's Ascent DLC, but unfortunately today, well I say unfortunately, we've seen a lot of the new civilizations, and today we're going to be going back to the roots of Age of Empires 4, featuring two of the original civilizations in the Rus and the Holy Roman Empire. Now, of course, I've had a lot of changes since the game was released. I mean, recently you've had the Rus going to town centers, and even the Holy Roman Empire doing something similar. It has been the case that the Holy Roman Empire has had that little bit of a power spike in the Castle Age. I think this matchup's an interesting one because the Rus very much often go for a second town center nowadays with their strong economy, getting an early wheelbarrow, getting the bounty on the map, and that's going to be something they need to contest. The Holy Roman Empire, though, I think a civilization that can do it very well at contesting that. You can see already marinelord does have 2 scouts to try and contest the deer camps on the map, and to, try and get that bounty. What's interesting is the Rus, if they do go for a second town center, the Holy Roman Empire matching that, it won't be too... I mean, it's going to be a good thing for the Holy Roman Empire in many ways. In fact, probably an established route in this map is going to be a second town center into Fast Castle. And that can be possible for both civilizations, the Rus and the Holy Roman Empire alike. I do feel like the HRE, they do have a slight edge because of the prelate. The 40% buffing of gathering resources for those villagers can be incredibly strong. Having said that, the Rus do have a great economy as well. Obviously, passive gold coming in from the hunting cabin. There's 26 there coming in there per minute. But also the bounty bringing in gold. And of course, they do have a really strong wood eco. When you factor in the Kremlin as a landmark, which is often the choice for the Rus, and then obviously getting that bonus there for the lumber camp drop-off as acting as a wooden fortress. But it looks like Beasty is going really heavily on gold. Has he just kind of messed up the build here a little bit? Maybe he didn't get enough gold. Yeah, it's actually a tricky situation for him because it's actually quite dangerous to get an early wheelbarrow. He's going to commit to it. If you don't get enough bounty to get to the next stage, because you need enough for the wheelbarrow and obviously 200 gold for the age up. So it's just going to long mine a little bit of gold and then go back to food. It's not too terrible, actually, overall things concerned. I mean, getting early wheelbarrow, that will kind of compensate for that. Although he did actually move the villagers without having wheelbarrow in, so those villagers did actually walk a sizable distance without wheelbarrow. In any case, it's going to be that Kremlin landmark that we often see the Rus get, and it allows that second town center expansion really safely. Obviously, they can call upon Kremlin gremlins if they need. It's going to be Ark and Chapel here for marinelord. The back of his base on that wood and the berries, and we'll be having access to that gold as well in terms of buffering with the Ark and Chapel. The HRE, a really strong civilization throughout the ages, and it really comes down to the prelate, the 40% buffering of those villages, incredibly strong. I mean, when you factor in even some of the new civilizations, you've got the Byzantines with the cistern network. I mean, they start off with 5% with one cistern, which is obviously an absolute fraction compared to what the HRE get, and then you've got the Order of the Dragon. They get a 25% buffering. But of course, they're more expensive and they take longer to train. So I generally think the HRE in terms of the early game, super early game, in terms of villager efficiency are pretty unrivaled. As we do now get to that feudal age. So Beasty's going to be a little bit delayed compared to marinelord. Of course, that little bit of extra gold mining needed early on. And but he's going to be nice, safe and secure with the 2 gold veins. Now what's really interesting is that I really like the map for Beasty. Especially if he's thinking a second town center, which is quite possible because of the fact that this west side is really nicely wallable, right? Right to the edge of the map, to the woodline, to the secondary woodline, to the Kremlin. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to wall this. I mean, probably will do, of course, as the game wears on. If marinelord goes for very highly mobile units. But even then, the Kremlin will hold that position for quite a while. And then on the east side, it's got its town center, right? So it's pretty nicely walled off. A bit of chunk of that map can be secured. Does have the ball relatively close by as well. On the other hand, marinelord is pretty exposed. 2 scouts just harassing villages on stone. There's that second town center coming out for the HRE just to match what is commonly done for the Rus, which is a second town center themselves, and that's exactly what's happening. See 8 villages on stone there for Beasty. Now what's interesting about the Golden Pit, it's obviously got this mechanic here in the middle, like it's certainly a map objective. You kind of have to get control of this, at least into terms of the mid-castle age. You can kind of get away up until the early Castle Age without having to venture in the middle, but leaving it later than that can be very dangerous. So we'll see how they plan this one out, because you do have 2 gold veins, And I would say again, Beastie's map is actually really nicely protected by the Kremlin in these two gold veins. Marinelord, on the other hand, his gold vein is a bit further out, the secondary one at least. He's going to come out to get a town centre near on... where's he going to go? He's going to the Boar, I think. Yeah, quite possibly the Boar on stone, which is obviously a little bit more far out, right? You can just tell already how the maps are laid out and how the bases are laid out. Marinelord is a bit more subject to early pressure. We can see just scouts being annoying here. 3 scouts there, so that's going to be a bit harassing on that wood line. But not going to get a villager kill, I wouldn't have thought, but it's going to be definitely annoying. Like, Marinelord is going to have a bit of idle time just trying to poke and prod these scouts. That's going to be a bit troublesome. So overall, generally, I think the map really favors Beastie in this situation, but, you know, the civilization... I think the HRE and the Rus are very, very strong, both of them together, right? Rus are obviously dubbed as one of the best civilizations on most maps. I think the HRE are up there, for sure. Getting those berries with the mill as well, and maybe looking to get an early wheelbarrow-ish in the... well, it's not really early at this point, but an early wheelbarrow compared to the other techs coming in. That's that second town centre there for Beastie on that ball. And it's a very nicely compact base. Like I did highlight this wood line, but in fact he can go further forward over to this one. It's got the deer camper behind that, and does have a relic safe and secure at the back. And that's something to think about actually in this situation, because you really do want to think about relics when you going up against the HRE. It's obviously something they focus on, especially if they go up with the Regent's Cathedral, which is often something they do. And the Burggraf Palace is an option, but it's often seen as a bit of a... It's kind of on a situation where if you go for it, you're kind of committed to aggression, right? Because the Regent's Cathedral is such a big landmark to forgo for the Burggraf Palace. You can always build barracks, right? Unless you're going to go for a really strong timing push with the HRE, I don't think Burggraf Palace is really suitable. Especially in this matchup where the Rus have gone 2 town centres. For the Burggraf Palace to get really amount of value that they would want to, they'd have to do significant damage. And I don't think the way the map's laid out, that would happen, especially with the palisade walls coming up now, with the Rus getting the buffered palisade walls, the fortified palisade walls, and makes it a little bit more tricky for the HRE to break through. I would be interested to see what the first production building will be for the Rus and Beastie. Will it be a stable? Would it be some early knights? Would he just go for a castle age? Which is probably what I'm expecting. I think certainly from the HRE, they want to contest those relics as quickly as they can. He does have a stable though, so can produce some horsemen if he needs to. There they are. 2 of them there on the field and moving out as we speak. Of course, has the scouts for that vision. And where does he hit though? That's the thing. It's going to be a bit difficult, right, for him to do much damage. There is the wood line that he could try and jump into, but the Kremlin is really close by and really make things challenging here for Marinelord to do any damage. But as long as he recognises that and doesn't commit too heavily in the feud age by producing too many units, that will obviously help him spend those resources into getting the castle age. And it does look like that's what's happening. In some ways, this could be a nice approach just to get a couple of horsemen to put some sort of pressure. Maybe forcing Beastie into a reaction. Which he probably won't take that bait, but, you know, it's worth a try. Because he's really nice, really well protected, right? But that castle is going to be coming in quickly for Marinelord. And based on that, we have to think about relic positions. There's one in the middle, one on the right, one on the left. All 3 of those pretty equidistant in the middle between the 2 players. And both players do have a relic kind of within their side of the map. Obviously, Beastie's one is a little more well protected. There's no real way that the HRE will get that one. So I think generally Marinelord is going to want to contest 4 of the 5 relics. This one in his base should be really his, so it's going to look to get the one in the middle first, I would have thought. And then move out from there. It's going to be the Regent's Cathedral, going to be building with 10 villages. And it's really just trying to rush that up for that timing to get those relics nice and quickly. It's got to be careful not to lose the scout though, Marinelord. A couple more detours around berries and stuff, and that scout will catch up for Beastie. Oh, the horsemen are going to be there anyway to save that scout from Marinelord. Does body block his own scout there a little bit, and Beastie will have to back away. It's going to be the high trade house. No real surprises there. I mean, although having said that, going for the other landmark to get the monastery could get the warrior monks a little bit quicker, but it does feel like such a strong landmark that you don't really want to ignore it. The high trade house will be getting that bounty up to 500 eventually with the deer that spawns from it, but also the gold that comes in from the wood line. New age does begin now, so Marinelord is up to that castle age rather. In 10 minutes, it's not a bad timing at all, and it's getting horticulture just to boost up the food economy. At this point, it does come into play, like who goes for a farming transition early, who is forced to it. It doesn't seem like it's going to be the Rus anytime soon. You can just see that factory in the red. It's going to be protecting the one on the left. He tried to get it in the end there, Prelate, but wasn't able to. He's going to be absolutely stabbed to death by the Rus villagers. I'm afraid the horsemen weren't there in time. Does have a wooden fortress there as well to protect that relic. So it's a bit of a tricky situation for marinelord. I think Beastie, if he can secure at least 2 out of 3 relics, that's incredibly good. He will want to get the others as well if he can, though, ideally. Looks like the middle one will be taken by the HRE, and the right one already has gone. So certainly going to be at least 2 in the bag for marinelord, and I'm sure it's going to be the third one in his base. I mean, ultimately, not too terrible here for Beastie, because obviously the timing was good for marinelord in that castle age. But it didn't mean he got sort of more than his fair share in many ways. I mean, I think you kind of expected them to get 3 out of 5 here, especially with that timing. Beastie will be okay with that, but obviously the little bit of advantage he does have in village account will be etched out by that extra relic. Having said that though, having the high trade house, 200 gold per minute, it's like having 2 and a bit relics, so it's definitely good having this landmark for sure. Do see a couple of knights there, has the mobility, marinelord, and we can see the Kremlin gremlins just trying to push away and deny that relic, but didn't really get there in time. And I like this transition into, well, not really transition, but movement into the knight line from the horsemen. It gives that mobility for the Holy Roman Empire. And I just wonder whether Beastie will go like for like with the Rus knights, which do scale really well in the Imperial Age. I think actually one of the best knights, if not the best knight, you can get in Age of Empires 4. Although I have to say though, cataphracts now, they're a thing for the Byzantines. They're probably the best unit you can get pound for pound, and population efficiency wise at least. We'll have to see though. I'd love to see the Rus knight versus the cataphract in the late game. Could be cool. Hopefully we'll see that matchup soon at some point. There they are. They're the Rus Royal Knights coming out now. Not Royal Knights, but I'm thinking about the French there. Oh, does deny the walls. And we talked about it earlier how the map is pretty exposed for marinelord. It does allow the knights to now actually waltz their way in. And there's quite a few villages there exposed on that berry bush, which has just now been taken. They do garrison inside, and let's switch over to the income per minute, because that food income from marinelord is absolutely on fire. Take a look at that, 1,400 almost food per minute. A lot of that's coming down to the bonus that Prelate giving those villagers and the gather speed. It's getting quite a lot of villagers on wood. I'm kind of expecting maybe a farming transition, going a lot on stone. There we are, there's the farming transition we expected. It's understandable at sort of the 13, 14 minute mark. You've taken the boar. You've probably taken most of your berries and the deer as well. And the deer camp here are pretty exposed, so it's a bit difficult for him to actually take that. But good numbers of military here for marinelord. Obviously, supplemented gold income is going to be coming in handy. And now we're entering that phase of the game where both players will be actively taking their second gold vein, usually at this point. Or very soon after. How much has he got left? Yeah, about 750. It's not going to last him too long, and he's going to have to move out to this gold vein, right? It's going to be a bit tricky because he's kind of narrowed the surface area for the mining. We'll have to see how he manages with that. And certainly Beastie has got a little bit more gold in the bank in terms of that gold vein, but we'll be moving out to that secondary gold vein soon, I'm sure. Now what that does really, it does now then put the emphasis on thinking about the middle, and getting stone for a keep could be quite useful for both players alike. And looks like Beastie might be looking to try and push in a little bit. Might deny the walls. There are spearmen though on hand there from marinelord to try and push that back. And something that's interesting though with those spearmen is who really is the one that's going to be offensive here, because you do get some situations in some games where there's a player that's a bit more dominant in terms of the unit composition and choice, and there's one player that's more reactive. And it's often the dominant player that goes for the mobility units, but talking about reactive, well, Beastie's going to need a reaction to this Palace of Swabia that's being built. 23 villages, and marinelord's economy is going to be skyrocketing after that. That landmark really does bolster the economy for the HRE, and it's quite nicely walled up. Makes it a bit tricky for Beastie to do much damage, and those knights are going to have to back away, because there are a couple of crossbows. I think there's going to be a couple more crossbows kind of heading across the map. There we are for Beastie. Now marinelord with the Palace of Swabia in a safe location. His economy is going to be coming absolutely nuts with the villages that are being produced. Absolute printing here of villages, taking only 7 seconds. And Beastie knows it, right? He knows that he can't really let the HRE get away with this in Imperial Age. There's a lot of resources that did go into that. And you can see he does have a good few number of knights there, the Rus in advantage. Does have a warrior monk as well to add to the fight. Now the question is, how much value can he get? That is the big question. Might need to be careful about these relic positions in the Regnant's Cathedral though. Might want to pull that out because it does feel like he might be pushed quite heavily here, Marinelord. Going to be building up the unit numbers of the spearmen just to try and hold the fort and the lines. But it's got to be careful. Might be looking to get some cannon emplacements in the outposts. What's really interesting is we do see, obviously Beastyqt was playing HRE a lot. And it does, the way that Marinelord's playing does remind you of Beastyqt, the way he plays the HRE. So kind of getting a dose of his own medicine here with the HRE being played by Marinelord. And Beastyqt can't really take this fight with that number of spearmen, but he will try to whittle down the numbers with the crossbows. They might even take that fight. I'm not so sure about that for Beastyqt. There's a lot of spearmen there. It's going to take a trade here, Marinelord. It's going to take a good trade. Get pushing that back away. And yeah, there's no real way that Beastyqt fights that, I don't think. It would be a throwaway of units. Now, what this does allow Beastyqt, though, is does give him a bit of map positioning. So he could potentially get some fortifications in the middle of the map and get control of that gold that's there. The question is, he needs to make sure that he doesn't lose too many units in this little push, because there's no siege, right? So, he does peel away a knight, though. I mean, the trouble with the situation about killing villagers, it's all very well and good, but the HRE, they just produce them again quite quickly, right? And especially with the 40% buffering around the Ark and Chapel and the farming. I mean, sure, you're having to pay for the villages that are being lost, but, it doesn't really matter when you've got the Ark and Chapel and the farms. I think it's something that's really strong about the Palace of Swabia, is that really going against the HRE in the stage of the game, you can't just raid them to death. It's not really a thing. There are some other civilizations you can do that to, especially civilizations that play one town center, maybe civilizations that play two town center, but when you've got the Palace of Swabia, you can't raid them to death. It is really tough. Unless you take out their farming economy entirely, or their food economy. You see Marinelord picking away those relics. It's such a smart time to do it. I love that play because the Regnant's Cathedral probably will go down pretty soon. There's a lot of units coming across here for Beastyqt, committing to that castle age. And what that does is it allows Marinelord to get the relics back home and also in the outposts. So these cannon outposts are going to be absolutely beastly and going to protect the economy that's back there. Also, we'll be getting that gold income, right? Because that could be something that's important as the game wears on, because he's actually kind of off of gold at this point here, Marinelord. We talked about his second gold vein. It's very exposed, and it does pose a threat. I would love to see Beastyqt, if he was a bit more aggressive, maybe got a couple of outposts just to try and halt the progression out to this gold vein. The trouble for Beastyqt, though, is that Marinelord does have a lot of spearmen, and eventually those spearmen will mass up in numbers that he'll be comfortable taking an engagement to push this all back. That time might be coming on our way, because we're heading into almost the 20th minute of the game. Beastyqt is expanding his economy, though, to get those pocket economies. The berries coming in handy. But we are steadily heading into the game where Imperial Age is on the cards for the Rus. There it is, 12 villages on the higher armory. And that's going to be giving him a cheaper siege, basically. Siege works. 20% discount, and also containing some unique upgrades. So maybe we'll be looking to see some siege coming out for the Rus. It's going to be definitely a strong addition to the army, right? It's got a lot of melee units. He needs to find a counter to the spearmen. One option is mangonels. Another option is having a tech switch into either horse archers or just regular archers. It's a bit tricky going for those units when you consider the man-at-arms or the heavily armored units that the Holy Roman Empire often do get. So maybe mangonels would be a better option. We can try and torch down the market. I'm sure that the emergency repairs come out here for the market. He wants to keep that alive, no doubt. That's exactly what happens when the spearmen push this back. And this is a really nice play from Marinelord, right? He's playing defensive, making sure he survives, and has walled up, got the cannon emplacements in the outpost, letting the Palace of Swabia do its thing. And we talked about siege coming out for the Rus. It's actually the HRE getting the first mangonel on the field. And that makes things a little bit dicey. A little bit of quick walling there coming in just to deny those knights going through. And Beastyqt is now starting to get a bit of a foothold in the middle, has a couple of villages on the gold. Question is, can he keep that alive and well and running for a long time or not? Knights there going to be trying to torch down the palisades, but I mean, even if they do go through, they're going to be met with a couple of spearmen, although they didn't really get the memo and they're going the long way around. Did react there, Marinelord, to bring them back. Again, I guess Beastyqt just poking and prodding, but not really able to do too much damage. Going to get some stone walls now, and he's going to need to get access to this gold vein. Does have their university now, so he's really rushing up these buildings. Holy smokes. He didn't actually have a blacksmith until now, so he's going to go for double blacksmith for the win. And once those upgrades, it's probably worthwhile at this point. In the late Imperial... Wait a minute. Is he actually going to get... I mean, there's 52 villagers here on gold. He is desperate for this gold. They're not all going to fit around here, my dude. He's going to have to extend or maybe destroy some of these walls and at least get a gate. But, yeah, that's a bit rough. Marinelord, they can't get through, my dude. Alright, deletes the wall there. A wall segment and goes through. Going to be extending those walls and probably could even get the deer camp. I would love to see a couple of prelates here as well, just to boost up these villages, because there's a lot here. Going around the west side. The spearmen might just trade off here. I think Beastie might just take the fight, but I mean, probably shouldn't really with this cavalry. No real need to be fair. He does back off, and Marinelord is going to be safer on the west side. It's actually really good for Marinelord that this is happening, because the gold income that he's getting is obviously on the right, and Beastie's nowhere there to challenge it. If it was challenging that gold at this point, it might be a little bit more difficult for Marinelord, and this gold will last him a bit of time, especially with the relic income that's coming in with the 3 relics. And he's going to make a dash for the middle soon, I would have thought, Marinelord, but Beastie might be well prepared. Question is, the knights do actually go on that, and the crossbows aren't there yet. I wonder if he took that fight a little bit early, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, in some ways, because he will clear this up. I do see a Streltsy coming out for Beastie. That could be a really nice late game unit, actually. Very heavy in terms of costing of food and gold, but it won't be a problem if he gets access to the middle gold, right? He's got 1 keep already. He's got 2,000 stone in the bank. Probably going to be spamming out keeps, but there's one concern with doing that. He spent a lot of villager time actually to gather that stone, whereas Marinelord could take care of that with a couple of trebuchets. We'll see if he decides to get some or not. I mean, don't know if he knows about the keep in the middle just yet. Or there is a knight there just denying that stone coming in there from Marinelord. That's actually problematic, because it is an elite knight, and there's no way he can turn around with the villagers and fight that. He's going to have to get spearmen there quickly. I mean, ultimately, again, we come onto that old thing about the HRE. You lose villagers, you got the Palace of Swabia, it doesn't really matter. It really does need a sustained push against them with siege, and there doesn't seem to be all that much siege on the field for Beastie. Not offensive siege anyway. He's got 1 springald that will be hopefully taken care of the mangonels that are there for the HRE, but he's diving in quite deeply here, and, well, the mangonel is going to push a lot of the crossbows back. The spearmen have to be a bit careful that the knights don't charge around onto that mangonel. They're going northwards to the Palace of Swabia. They're not going to be able to do too much damage, and again, for maybe the 5th or 6th time, Marinelord is going to push away the army that Beastie has. Oh, he's going to deny these walls though. These villagers have to be careful on the stone mine. We're taking the engagement. I mean, the spears will trade off here. No real value else to be had here, for Beastie. No long-lasting damage at least, and a lot of infrastructure coming on the front lines. Well, then that's going to be a lot of good work coming out of those production buildings. Lots of units joining the fight very closely. And we're going to be denying that little push there for Beastie. Does deny the walls on the east side, but I'm sure that'll go up now. And the military number's pretty equal. Villager number's pretty equal as well, but Beastie's the one being the aggressor. And he has had a protected economy for quite a while. That mangonel is pretty exposed. The horsemen do dive on it. And he will get the mangonel, so it's a good pick-off. Does get the shot off of the mangonel, but not all that much damage coming up on the crossbows. Looks like a horseman coming out here for Marinelord, and that will dive on the crossbows and take them out. Beastie lacking numbers, right? The trouble with his push is there's no siege to accompany it, and so the ground that he gathers and gains is just being pushed back by the defensive reinforcements coming in. The defender's advantage for Marinelord certainly helping on that front. Alright, Marinelord making a dash for the middle, looking to get a keep. Oh, there's a lot of horsemen there, but there's a lot of spearmen there for Marinelord, so he'll be quite happy about taking that fight. Does move back a little bit with that keep. There are 2 keeps there already, 3 keeps there for Beastie. Holy moly, you really went for it, and we're going to have to see some trebuchets out for the HRE, no doubt about that, because he's going to want to take care of that. Those keeps are in a far forward position as well, so not huge amounts of access to gold. He's going to even try and torch it down with a couple of the melee units as well. Horseman on horseman, spearman on the left side. I was going to be diving on the spring. There's 4 or 5 springles that could go down really cheaply there for Beastie. He will not want that. They all go down. That is terrible. That's a lot of investment. Now, boiling oil is in there for the keeps, and that'll do great work against the infantry units that are there, but, I mean, taking care of the springles is absolutely huge. He should get all of them in the end. He does, and that's massive, because now that allows any siege that's on the field there from Marinelord to really pile on pressure. Getting a keep forward siege workshops, going to be getting trebuchets, and they're going to be protected underneath that keep. It's just looking a little bit rough for Beastie, because how does he find an answer to the trebuchets? It would have been springles, but he just lost all of them. He does have 1 more coming across, but it's a bit rough there. Look at the food economy. This is the crazy thing about the HRE. We made mention to it earlier about the prelate and the 40% buffering of the gathering rate of these villages. I mean, my God, man. can I just take a second to say that these farms are beautiful, although they're not quite perfect. There's a couple of gaps here, which is a bit, you know. It happens, but the food income is pretty strong there. 2,600 food per minute. I mean, you can't argue with that, right? It's just kind of crazy how the economy just really spirals out of control for the HRE. And speaking of economy, BC has to be careful. There's a couple of horsemen diving in a little bit, and that's going to take out a couple of villages on the production buildings. And the thing is, BC doesn't have that capability of producing villages as fast as marinelord, right? Marinelord is at 200 population almost. BC's stuck at 155, and it's mostly the military that is lost on the front lines, right? The horsemen getting good value, forcing BC to move back into his base, and I love that kind of movement because it allows marinelord now to focus in the middle. There is a bombard which you need to deal with, but the cannon emplacement inside the outpost does mean that those horsemen probably won't last for too long, although he does lose the outpost in the end, but it does have a keep. Bombard now working there for Beastie. That's actually a bit of an issue for marinelord. He will need to address that, but he's causing a lot of idle time back at home in terms of villagers. Right, at least, yeah, there we are on the wood line. They have to back away, and there's horsemen chasing as well, which is all important. Forcing Beastie to pull units back at home and allowing marinelord to actually now maybe deal with the siege. There's quite a lot of it. Oh, I love this play there for the town centre. Obviously doesn't need town centres at this point, for the villagers at least. But he's doing it for emergency repairs, right, which does act as a bit of a kick in the teeth. I'm not sure if that town centre goes quick enough. He's now rushing out with more villagers, but that's going to be a close one. He might need to dive it because there's a ram, there's bombard, and there's another ram coming in. It's on fire. Will he get it in time? That's actually kind of close. I'm not so sure. I mean, he will. No, he will. Wait. Yeah, he should get it in time, right? He should, theoretically. Oh, he presses it just in time. I think one more shot from the bombard would have done it. I mean, the damage output is a decent amount there. 410 plus the base damage, so 510. Might not have actually in the end. I think he had about 700 HP or something. We'll be sniping that great bombard now with the horseman. And even just torching down the keep there. Does have a cannon emplacement in it, but it doesn't seem to even matter. It's not phasing marinelord at all. He's using a lot of trash units, right? Food and wood units. Not spending that gold just yet. It's got almost 2,300 gold in the bag. Beastie has more. The trouble for Beastie, he's struggling on food. Despite having the high trade house and that deer camp being spawned for free, he is really struggling. He's not really taking a lot of them. He's actually got quite a few deer there left. There's 8 deer there. That's a lot of food. In any case, speaking of food, the horsemen are expensive units for marinelord, so his food count has dropped as well. But he's got rams of his own, and oh, has he got that tech? The Wandering Town tech, that I think it's Wandering Town, that makes them fire a lot faster. It's just a bit broken for the Rus, and this is a good strong push. The villagers are trying to repair that on that keep for Beastie. It's going to be a difficult one. marinelord getting a keep there on the east side, getting access to another gold vein, securing that. That's what he needs. But the military number's looking good here from marinelord, 56. But more important, he's got the right units. I'll say the Streltsy probably will do decent amount of damage, but the horseman might try and dive on that. And ultimately, Beastie is using a lot of gold units, right? Villagers coming out to torch down those rams. That's a lot of rams, guys. And of course, the wood economy for the HRE is going to be strong. 8 rams there in total. Not all of them focusing on that keep. So I'm going for wait, the villagers coming back again? Okay, he's falling back. He's going to give up that keep on the left. Try and focus on keeping the one in the middle. Villagers coming out to torch them down, but this is a lot of idle time, right? It's not so much just the fact that he's having to, risk the villagers' lives, but the fact that they're idle as well. They're not gathering resources, which is exactly kind of what Beastie needs right now. And yeah, the rams are really cost-effective at doing this. He might even take this keep in the middle. Wait. Yeah, he did get the keep in the left, and he might even get the keep in the middle. Villagers coming out to repair, and that's precious stone that Beastie doesn't have. In fact, he doesn't have as much anymore. He's down to 0 in the bank for stone, and this is the big push that might actually see the end of the game, because if Beastie loses his position, we're getting to that phase of the game where he's running out of answers, right? He's not going to be able to push us back effectively. He's behind on economy, behind on military, and marinelord coming in with a big push. Taking out those keeps. There's about 4 or 5 keeps there in the end, and might be looking to deploy another keep of his own. Just using emergency repairs. Doesn't even have to sacrifice idle villager time. Just takes it out with the horsemen in the end. There's so many things going for the HRE. Such a strong civilization. Emergency repairs. Prelate buffering by 40%. The Palace of Swabia. Incredibly strong bonuses that they get. Streltsy going to be ripping through. Oh, there's a couple of Lance Connector there. marinelord should win this fight purely because of the Lance Connector, and there's a great movement into that unit because the Streltsy won't be able to stand and fight for too long. The Lance Connector are in there doing massive amounts of AoE damage. Going to lose the Springalds as well. And the Mangonels coming out for the Rus. Sorry, the HRE rather. And that's going to be demolishing Oh, that could be a huge mangonel shot on the villagers. The villagers do garrison inside in time. Damage has almost been done, though. Question is, Beasty's starting to hold, though. He needs to keep hold of this keep for sure. I'd love to see a couple of trebuchets, though, from marinelord. It's going to be continuing with rams instead. Which it's fair enough. You don't really necessarily spend gold if you don't have to. Although he's gathering a bit of gold in the middle there. And that's the final keep that maybe Beasty, if he loses that position, it might be very difficult to hold on. Because that's the last gold vein that he has access to, right? He's clearly getting a lot of villagers to gather as much gold as he can. Horseman diving in. There's a lot of spearmen there, though, for the Rus. And that will do well. Protecting those Streltsy. One Springald, but there's a Mangonel. The Mangonel deploys. And they're going to get great value on that front line. He's actually going to focus on the Springald first. And if he takes that Springald out, there's going to be one Mangonel left. And there is still one Mangonel left. Villagers coming out to torch the Mangonel if they can. But I'm not sure if they get close enough, those horsemen. In fact, they will. The spearmen should be able to take care of the horsemen. The villagers coming out on the ram instead. And it's going to be trying to repair that keep. He holds on for now, Beasty. He holds on for now. Going to be trying to take out the keep. Again, emergency repairs is just a bit oppressive in this situation, right? Has 2 culverins to his name, and yeah, it's going to be difficult for Beasty because he needed siege earlier, maybe in the castle age, and didn't quite have it at this point now, is struggling. Despite having actually better technically siege, it's just kind of struggling against the HRE and their production capacity. The food income is looking pretty decent again, though, for Beasty again. Let's not count him out just yet. Horseman going to dive with the Spearman support from the HRE. A lot of Streltsy and Spearman, though, for Beasty. Is slowly being pushed back by the Mangonels. Only one Springald. That'll take 2 shots to take care of the Mangonel. Does get the first shot in. The Mangonel does get a hit on the Streltsy. Maybe it's already paid for itself. Does get a second shot on the Streltsy. That is absolutely huge. Huge numbers dying. Does take out the Mangonel in the end. Culverins, though, might look to snipe out the Springalds. The Springalds do back off of Beasty, and he's charging forward with his units. Pushing the army back. All of a sudden, though, marinelord's down to 29 military. Has got a bombard and a Mangonel. Most of his units orientating towards the siege side of things. And villagers coming out to torch down the rams. Does have a bombard that's slowly working on that keep. Beasty is repairing. The 3 Springalds will be trying to push away the bombard. Doesn't quite manage it because there's culverins. Oh, he's going to snipe the other 2 Springalds. Does get one. Doesn't quite get the second there, marinelord. Now has to back away. Might lose a Mangonel there. No, he doesn't. He doesn't because the keeps are protecting it. Bombard's still living and being repaired by marinelord. And at this point, Beasty's going to be struggling out of gold soon if he doesn't keep this position. He's already down to 500 gold in the bank, and this is a strong push again for marinelord. The east side getting access to wood. That's actually a thing to think about. Wood access. No, there are plenty of wood on the map, actually, to be fair. It's all coming down to access to the gold and getting another keep here, marinelord. Going to be protecting the siege. Here's a big fight. Does lose a Springald on the back line. I think there's a trebuchet there as well. Maybe not. My eyes deceived me. But there are definitely Mangonels focusing on those Spearmen. Spearmen going to be pushing forward for Beasty, trying to snipe as many Mangonels as they can. Not sure if he gets all that many because there's a keep, there's an outpost working on those Spearmen. Going to be trying taking out the bombard next. The 3 Mangonels still survive. And that's absolutely clutch there from marinelord because those Mangonels can do great work against the Streltsy. He snipes 1 Mangonel, but that's not going to be enough. The keep survives, and all of a sudden, Beasty threw away his army quite badly there. It was so difficult to push the HRE. Felt like he maybe had to do something. Loses the Springald, and now he's down to 26 military. Horseman going to charge in against the Spearman. Probably not the best idea from marinelord, so he does back away. The bombard's still active for the HRE, working on that keep. I guess at this stage, the real concern is the lack of stone, right? Because, I mean, the HRE can use emergency repairs. The Rus don't get such a tech, and it means every hit that goes on this keep is devastating for Beasty's defense. You may have to even buy stone, which you don't necessarily want to do when the only gold that you have access to is here, and it's just about to run out. Beasty's about to run out of gold. Only 1,000 in the bank, and that's going to be it. It's looking rough here. I think in the overall context of the game, Beasty's played it well, but marinelord's just played it a little bit better. The Civ certainly pays for itself well on the Golden Pit map. I gotta say, I think emergency repairs is something that's really done well, especially with the Palace of Swabia. But we are expecting a big push here for Beasty. One last hurrah. He's going to go for that middle gold vein. Needs to protect this with his life if he can. But 2 Mangonels deploy on the Spearman. Takes out a lot of damage on the HP of those units. Spearman there's a front line from marinelord. Does still have the Mangonels working, and has got the cannon placements fighting underneath 2 keeps. Villagers trying to get as much gold as they can. He's going to sacrifice villagers as well, and he taps out there. Beastyqt wasn't able to stop that push from marinelord. marinelord played it slowly, methodically, got the Palace of Swabia and pushed out from there on Golden Pit. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game. If you're watching on YouTube, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Take care, and see you next time.